This is where I like Palantir, because see, Palantir could actually benefit from where AI is today. You don't actually need the latest and greatest models for Palantir, because Palantir uses what's known as ontological AI.
What if I told you Palantir's secret weapon isn't new tech, it's how they use it? Check this video out.
This is a fancy way of saying Palantir organizes big data into ways that today's levels of AI can actually make sense of it. In their earnings call, for example, they give a description of a Walgreens executive recently highlighting that Foundry and AI Palantir allowed them to play AI-powered end-to-end workflows in 4,000 stores within 8 months, automating what amounted to 384 billion decisions every day if you were relying on humans. In other words, Palantir has this really beautiful positioning where you could take today's level of neural nets, organize data in a structured way, and help AI at today's levels analyze the information. This is why Palantir has gotten so exciting as a stock. Now, the valuation is high. We know that. This is not a video to bag on the Palantir valuation. And yes, there could be a lot of stock volatility, both to the upside and the downside. But one of the reasons that I talked about part of the Palantir as being real AI, like I did not only on the YouTube channel here, but also here in November of 2023, as an example in this tweet, I wrote C3 AI dumping on news that employees were fired across departments last week, whatever. The comment I had on this is, in my opinion, Palantir is a much better play than C3 AI. Full transparency, I have long positions in Palantir in my ETF, but I don't in C3 AI. So basically I was saying like, hey, Palantir is your real AI, and like I'm putting my money where my mouth is on this. Big fan of that. Now, that said, again, valuation a little stretchy right now on Palantir, but we see Palantir still as a real AI player today, but also a long-term beneficiary. Think about this, and I love this. AI agents are processing vast volumes of intelligence reports in the Department of Defense, finding things humans miss, and AI agents are monitoring for sepsis at Tampa General Hospital, for example.
So let's ask the obvious. If this isn't real AI, what is? Palantir's Foundry and AIP stack are enabling high-speed, high-stakes decision-making across logistics, healthcare, and defense. This isn't future potential, it's current capability. While others ride trends, Palantir's already embedded. If Walgreens can automate 384 billion micro-decisions daily, imagine what happens when governments and allies scale this globally.
Now, these are great deployments of artificial intelligence that don't rely on insane capital expenditures like what you're seeing by companies, less so now at Microsoft, but still at Amazon and Meta and even XAI to some extent, where are those really going to return investors' capital? The question there, I think, is valid. And I think it's reasonable why we've seen Palantir skyrocket so much, because you have a company that's not blowing a bunch of money trying to come up with the next greatest model. Instead, you have a company that's benefiting from what they've always done. Take big data at companies and make it more accessible. Now, one of the big things that's happened at Palantir, which I love from their last earnings call, is what I call the unlocking of artificial intelligence on a big data level. Now, let me explain what that means. Take a look at this screenshot here from their earnings call. And then I would say, culturally, we just don't see the resistance to the way we roll that we did in the past. We would show up in the past, the freak show, trying to get things to work, not with the wrong access to the wrong people at the wrong time. Well, I think this might be a improper translation here. I forget the word "not" there. I just read it as with the wrong access to the wrong people at the wrong time. And that was by intent. People were very uncomfortable at all levels of enterprise working with us. Basically, Palantir is describing that in the past, people didn't like handing over all their big data. The Department of Defense may not have been as comfortable. Hospitals may not have been as comfortable with their HIPAA protected, customer data, basically. Now listen to this. Now we have full stack engaged with us inside the government, outside the government on most critical issues. I'm on the front line with everyone. 2 years ago, we might get a CEO, we might get a CIO, we might get someone in marketing, but they had no power. Today, everyone wants to work with Palantir, and they're like, please. It's like they're opening up their legs, going, please, take what you want. Have all of me. And if you think about that transformation, it shows you that when it comes to AI, we don't actually maybe need all of this exponential artificial general intelligence AI to make money with AI. We actually have this incredible growth that we have access to in encyclopedic AI that now is just a matter of putting that encyclopedic AI to use. And that's what companies like Palantir are doing.
This shift is a major inflection point. For years, Palantir was the outsider, powerful software, but limited by political and institutional hesitancy. That friction is dissolving fast. When agencies that once kept them at arm's length are now fully integrating AIP into mission-critical operations, it's a signal that the moat is widening. And they're doing it without trillion-dollar training clusters, just disciplined deployment of existing AI right where it's needed most.
Now, of course, when we compare the profits that Palantir generates compared to Salesforce, which has a similar similar market cap to Palantir, but the valuations are insanely different. Palantir's trading for over a 7 to 9 peg, depending on what kind of forecast you give them, price to earnings growth multiple, right? It makes Palantir very rich and likely also the beneficiary of stock market momentum. But who says that stops anytime soon? I'm not making a projection on the price of Palantir. I'll tell you that I think it is actually fairly priced, closer to $40. But that's just based on today's growth numbers. My bullishness for the company, though, says that this is the kind of company that I have less risks of being a sort of a CoreWeave bag holder with Palantir in terms of where the industry is going in the longer term. Although those risks could also be misplaced for CoreWeave because, again, CoreWeave is only addressing $4 billion of what's projected to be a $400 billion total addressable market in the long term. I also think Palantir's valuation is just undesirable at these levels, but in the long term, both of these plays could be really exciting investments. Who knows? If we go through some kind of Moody's downgrade credit shock, or if we go through a recession or whatever, I'm going to be paying attention to both of these companies. And if I had to pick one of the two to fundamentally just blindly believe in the long term in terms of which company is going to have more success for the long term, I'll take the fortress balance sheet and what Palantir is doing any day over the broken balance sheet at CoreWeave, which is fixable, but they'll probably get themselves into the same situation again because of how fast they want to expand. Very, very capital-intensive business.
This is the nuance Palantir investors need to keep in mind. Valuation is high, no doubt, but it's high for a reason. This is one of the only AI-focused firms with real profitability, a government foundation, and expanding commercial traction. The comparison to CoreWeave is telling. One is a capital-intensive cloud play racing to scale. The other is already positioned as a deflationary force within institutions. Long-term, that's exactly the kind of asymmetry that makes Palantir compelling.
Palantir, on the other hand, again, we're working with the data that we have available today and the levels of AI that we have today, not necessarily relying on those next levels. Just making use of what we have today, and I love that. I think it's less of a bet on future growth and more of a bet on, hey, we're really good at what we're doing and we actually don't need technology to improve. We just want to expand how great we are at what we're doing to more businesses, more parts of the government, and otherwise. It's one of the reasons why I also said I thought Palantir would be a beneficiary of Doge, and so far it seems like they have been because the government realizes Palantir actually makes you more efficient. This is where in their earnings call, Palantir tells us, hey, you make money when you spend money on Palantir. This is kind of cool.
What really stands out here is Palantir's business model maturity. This isn't a company betting on some theoretical exponential leap in AI capability. It's betting on scale, on replicating real, tangible value across sectors that are traditionally slow to adopt innovation. And that's rare in a tech landscape where hype often outpaces delivery. While others are chasing the next flashy demo or AGI headline, Palantir's quietly building institutional trust and operational leverage with what's available today. When government agencies and Fortune 500 companies say, "You make money when you spend money on Palantir," that's not just a clever line from an earnings call. It's a market signal. That's validation from the people who are closest to mission-critical problems. And as more organizations realize that efficiency isn't about speculative models, but about deploying proven systems that already work, Palantir becomes less of a tech stock and more of an infrastructure layer. That's a whole different tier of relevance. So whether you're watching this as an investor, a builder, or just someone trying to make sense of where real AI is heading, it's worth keeping your eyes on the company that's not just promising the future, but actively enabling it.